Southwest is an annual Austin-based festival and conference where the best creatives from each industry come to connect and share creative discovery and innovation. I pitched, creative, developed, and hosted my own hour-long discussion all about the art of power dressing, and here's how it went. All right, guys, if everyone's okay with it, I'm gonna start now. Okay. So today we are here to talk about the art of power dressing. My name is Tiffany Reid. I'm a New York-based stylist and consultant, and I have years of experience working as a celebrity stylist, working for a fashion magazine such as Cosmopolitan, Elle, Nylon, Bazaar. So I've worked at InStyle, basically every fashion magazine you think of. I've had some bit of my hands on it. So I've been in the industry for quite a while, and I'm here to talk to you guys about power dressing. Just with a quick raise of hands, who can tell me or who remembers what they wore to their first interview? Just if you remember what you wore. Okay. Would you wear it again? I'm assuming it was cringe or embarrassing, right? One of my best friends actually ended up getting a job across the street from me, so we would go to happy hour together. She walks in, she's wearing my mom's pencil skirt. And I'm like, when did you borrow that and not return it? And so we got into it a little bit. And mind you, this is my best friend, love her forever. We're still good friends many, many years later. And she swore that it was her skirt, that like I made it up, she never borrowed my mom's skirt, etc. I go home, I look everywhere, I'm scouring over for it, couldn't find it. My mom finds it. So it turns out my best friend was telling the truth. But what that symbolized to me was the power of that skirt. It was something about that silhouette, it was something about the shape or about how it made you feel, the color even, that not even the generation of me and my girlfriends and my best friend, but our parents' generation too gravitated towards it. So we're going to talk about how clothing has power to put you in situations and place you in rooms where you want to be. This just isn't something that comes natural to us. We're programmed to think this way over time. So the next time you put together an outfit for an important day, think about how you're using your wardrobe as a tool. Does it create confidence, credibility? Just ask yourself 2 questions. I'm going to ask you those questions now, and I want you to really think about them. How do I feel in this look? So every day you guys got up, especially today, you knew you were going to meet people, potentially network, learn something. I hope that you guys feel good about what you're wearing, right? Do you feel confident? Do you feel comfortable? Do I feel like I can rule the world? Do I feel like myself, or do I feel like someone else? Those are questions that you have to be honest with yourself about. Then the second question is, now this one's a little bit tricky. What message am I sending, right? Now, you can't control how people perceive you, but people are going to think of something based off of what you're wearing. And so today, I hope that I can guide you a little bit on how to dress for the job. What you wear has power, and we like to believe that skills, talent, and experience should be enough. Yes, it does, they matter, and in some cases more than others. And that's a subject I won't get into because some people get jobs they don't deserve. But the reality is that the way we dress influence how people perceive us long before we even say hello. And as we said, we're all guilty of doing it. When I was thinking about modern, and I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody by this story, but we have to talk about it. When I was thinking about modern power dressing in the workplace, my mind immediately went to the controversial story of Elizabeth Holmes and her company, Theranos, right? And we asked ourselves, how did she convince everybody? How did she convince so many people? Why didn't anyone see through it? I wouldn't have been tricked by it. I think everyone thinks that they wouldn't be tricked. But the answer is the halo effect. It's a psychological phenomenon where professional attire symbolizes perceptions of competence and leadership ability. This principle illustrates the power of clothing in shaping overall judgments about capabilities. So there is a psychology behind it. Thinking back to Holmes and how she knew that the industry she was in, she had a higher chance of being respected by mirroring her look from a certain image of leadership. You guys all know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. One dominated by men, like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and Jeff Bezos. She adopted the black turtleneck and simply created a uniform with no tricks and no flashes. But by mirroring that attire, she gained credibility by her peers without even having to prove anything on her resume, any proof that what she was able to deliver on, promised she would deliver on, she would be able to deliver on. And really the associations that connected black turtlenecks with innovation and expertise and brilliance reigned supreme. Crazy, right? But even when skepticism arose about her company and her company's claims, her polished uniform appearance continued to lend an air of confidence and credibility. And even when she was discovered, people didn't believe it. And I know this case is extreme, but it is an underlying a principle that applies to all of us, whether it's in the corporate office or a creative industry. The way we dress influences how we are perceived. And that doesn't mean that we should all dress identical or sacrifice our style, because I don't believe in that. But I do want to emphasize being strategic in our clothing and using clothing as a tool to help us shape perception, establish authority, and even influence career trajectories. When I was at InStyle, I dressed more casual because I was an assistant, and let's be honest, I couldn't afford to power dress. But what I found is that I wanted to fit in with the senior editors very badly. I was at a magazine, and it was in magazine heydays, so they all dressed chic. They all were in head-to-toe designer, and everyone looked amazing all the time. But I realized that the magazine that I was at InStyle reached the masses, right? And so they wanted to feel like they could be a part of the luxury world, but they also wanted to afford what they were doing. And I realized that's me. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to dress like that, but I want to feel a part of it. So I leaned into the audience that we were speaking to create my personal style at work. And then that trick worked. And I started to get more accolades because of the way I dressed. People started to notice me more. People started to take me more seriously. And so I tried this trick at every other magazine to see if it would work. And it did. When I was at Cosmopolitan in 17, I dressed bold. I used a lot of color. It was a little bit young and fresh. And I quickly progressed in that position as well. And then when I really took a change of the way I dressed was when I became an executive. So I was the senior vice president of fashion for Bustle Digital Group, and I oversaw all fashion for all of our publications. So Nylon, The Zoe Report, Bustle, Elite Daily, and I was on the executive team. And so I switched from wearing my bubbly, bright, revealing looks when I worked at Cosmo in 17 to wearing more tailored, sleek styles. But I did keep a little bit of the sheer and more revealing because that is true to me. Until last year, or 15 months ago, when I had a baby. When I came back from maternity leave, I noticed that I became a little bit more reserved in showing that little bit of extra skin, playing with a little bit of lace or sheer. And so I've noticed that my style has evolved, right? As a woman, my style has evolved from being an assistant to working at a fun, crazy job, to being an executive, to being a mom. And all throughout it, I still felt like myself. In the 50s, right here, notable designers like Christian Dior transformed women's suiting by tweaking the fit blazer and cinching the waist. So it's all about accentuating the woman's body. They weren't scared to do it. And then in the 60s, suiting became a bit more relaxed, and it embraced a lot of color, where traditionally it was black and white. Now we get to the 70s, where they interjected a new era of gender-neutral styles. They really changed from the skirts that we saw before to pants. And not everyone adopted it. There was some resistance for it, but it was growing acceptance among women. Men didn't love it, but women did, right? And we dressed for ourselves. And in the 80s, that's when it really got fun. We all know what the 80s is known for, the colors and those shoulder pads, which actually, I don't know if anyone has them on right now, but I'm sure someone in this conference does. Everything had to be without shoulders, everything was structured, and it was lavish and bold. And honestly, if you didn't have shoulder pads, you weren't a part of the conversation. Now we enter the 90s, and things got a bit more relaxed again. Society came to a halt, and things got sleeker and minimal. And shorter, if you notice. The hemlines kept rising, and then in the 2000s, when Calvin Klein and minimalism reigned supreme, I just think we went crazy. We were really free to start to express ourselves in the workplace. And however, as industries evolve and the workplace culture shifts, so too has the definition of professional attire. Power dressing today is about dressing for yourself authentically and strategically, finding the balance between corporate norms and personal style. Color theory is a study of how colors relate to each other and how they affect people's emotions and perceptions. It's a tool that helps artists, designers, and creators choose colors that work well together. And while this is not the end-all final answer, this is a suggestion to help keep the message of what you want to be said in your wardrobe. Even sports teams, just again, I see some men in the room, I hope that you like my sports references, but even sports teams consider these colors in their uniforms, and big corporations do as well. Obviously we know Coca-Cola, the red is associated with energy, right? When you drink a Coke, what do you get? McDonald's, the bright yellow golden arches, it's eye-catching, it's obviously an act of a siren that's calling out to you, but it is supposed to be joy and optimism, right? Kids love going there. Remember when they used to have the ball pit, which I can't imagine what they're doing now, I haven't been in one, but it was a place of joy, right? And then Starbucks, before what we know now about Starbucks. The green and white colors are associated with nature and health. And there was a point where we thought Starbucks was very healthy. And so companies are using it in their logos. And back to my sports analogy, think about the Lakers, yellow and black, sunshine and power. Or the Knicks, orange and blue, success and confidence, which someone joked about, they're not very successful, but don't talk about Knicks. My surprise, because I like seeing things in person, is that I have a little mini fashion show for you guys. If you are going to play with pops of color, that you do anchor it in something a little bit more neutral or nude, because we still want to make sure that we're keeping it corporate and we're not distracting. And I'll get in a little bit about how what you wear can distract other people in the workplace. I also wanted to intentionally do a mix of high and low brands, because these are great pieces that are actually affordable. And I think when people think about power dressing, they get intimidated by it because they think it means a big price tag. Chase has a startup and he needs money. He is out trying to raise capital for his business, right? And so for Chase, we needed to find an affordable suit. Who can guess what jobs they have in real life? I almost tricked you guys. So, Laurel works in the emergency room department as a representative, so she wears scrubs every day. Ayla is a Pilates instructor. She wears workout clothes every day. And Chase works in fashion. He is a retail wholesale manager of the region that we're in now. So I want to take a closer look at three celebrities who famously are known for using fashion to go ahead and make a name for themselves. Take Zendaya, for example. She's one of the most celebrated figures in the fashion industry. And together with La Roche, her stylist, they really have made a name for themselves. Everyone knows who she is now. And she really curated a groundbreaking, breathtaking, viral red carpet moment on and on again. And that method of dressing elevated her to an entirely new level. She openly talks about it in interviews. She says that she used fashion to open doors for herself. She would show up at events that she was not supposed to be at, and she would wear the best clothes, right? Until they gave her a reason to be here. Then she started to be the face of these brands. And that's how you use fashion to get where you want to be in life. She literally used clothes to build her career. And I say that she really learned that from the school of Rihanna, because she was the first to ever do it. Now, Let's look at Harry Styles. Now, I don't want the men in the room to think I'm telling them that they have to dress like this. But I do think he's an important case study to look at because he's another icon who redefined fashion, really championing gender fluid dressing. And he often starts with the foundation of a traditional suit. So if you look at all of these looks, he is wearing, most of the looks, he is wearing a suit jacket and pants, right? But there's something a little bit different and extra about all of it. There's a little bit of flair to it. He really just injects his personal style and his personality, which is avant-garde, in the accessories, in the exaggerated proportions. Look at that Gucci collar. And really he makes the look uniquely who he is. And then you have moments where he wears his bibs. And they're printed and they're colorful. And I think that is probably truly who he is, right? But there are moments where those are not appropriate. So I think even he, in his creative style and in his eccentric way, knows when to turn it on, how far to push it, and when it's going to work. But he's definitely made a name for himself based off of his wardrobe. Of course, we have to talk about Princess Diana, because I honestly think that even though she was not using fashion to make her career, she was using it to tell a story. And of course, she's timeless, and I think that she expressed herself through fashion in a way that she couldn't through words. If you look at old references and you think about how she's telling story through her clothes, you can also sort of tell what was going on in her personal life. If you watch the evolution of her style, you start to even see that her posture changed throughout the years, that she was more confident, that she was more bold. And we always, always, always talk about her in that revenge dress. That black revenge dress was really telling a message. As the world becomes increasingly more digital, and we're actively witnessing the intersection of fashion and technology, particularly the role that AI is shaping in the way we dress, more and more we're seeing brands intentionally not only style, but they're also incorporating AI in technology. I'm obsessed with this Ray-Ban and Meta collaboration. There's a new AI app that's revolutioning the way we shop, and it's called Spree AI. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. But Spree AI basically is a technology that luxury brands are now using. You go on the website, you take a picture of yourself, it scans your body, and then you are able to go ahead and shop. And then when you're ready to try stuff on, you try stuff on with your scanned body. So it's not an avatar, it is your scanned body. There's really AI-driven wardrobe assistants that curate wardrobes based off of your industry. So looks that are tailored specifically for the role that you are either going for, you want to be in, or you're in. And it'll go to their company guidelines and curate looks for you based off of that. And so whether or not you're in a corporate office or a creative field, it'll curate it for you. Then it uses your personal style. So it uses your algorithms to analyze past purchases, preferences, and curates tailored to your taste. So if you're always opting for a red, it's going to give you more red. And even in your daily schedule. So it will suggest looks based on your upcoming schedule. So if you say that you're going to be a South by Southwest this week and then the Met Gala next week, you'll have options for both. It will generate a polished look for an important meeting. It'll do a bold look for a night out with friends. And honestly, these apps aren't hard to find. A quick search of AI stylists results thousands of sites and apps come up. It's hard to find the good ones because a lot of it is still being tested. This leads me to the perfect example of how clothing shifts workplace dynamic, including unconscious bias. So, for the introduction of Casual Friday, initially it was a shift that was widely celebrated as employees saw it as a chance to break free from rigid dress codes, express personal style, and enjoy a more relaxed environment. Many interpreted this movement as a symbol of loosening professional boundaries and a step towards modern, flexible work culture. Right? Seems like there's not everything harmless in Casual Friday. However, not everyone had the same initial feeling about this shift. For people of color in corporate environments, Casual Friday presented a different challenge, specifically for men within this demographic. While their white colleagues could comfortably dress down without consequence, many people of color found themselves walking a fine line between fitting in, maintaining professionalism and credibility, and not being mistaken for they weren't supposed to be there. So, when workplace biases that already existed, dressing too casually could unintentionally reinforce negative stereotypes or call their professionalism into question. So, many professionals from underrepresented backgrounds opted out of this. It was a necessary tool for them to be taken seriously and to avoid misjudgment and to prove their competence. And the reality of dressing down is a rather risky privilege. The same was true for some women. They could not interpret what Casual Friday meant, and they did not want to be made uncomfortable for wearing something inappropriate. The halo effect is a psychological phenomenon, again, where professional attire symbolizes perceptions, competence, and leadership ability. This principle illustrates the power of clothing in shaping overall judgments. I think the halo effect is brilliant. So I definitely think that people should lean into it. I don't think you should take advantage of it.
All in all, the art of power dressing is something you can take anywhere, to get coffee, in the workplace, and even at South by Southwest. You can use it to your advantage to help shape people's first impression of you, which I pointed out at the top of my discussion. People make their first impression of you within 7 seconds of meeting you. South by Southwest was the best place to see that in action, with so many people using it as a networking opportunity and the blending of so many creatives and intellectuals coming together in one place. To be a part of that conversation and to help provide some tips and tools that people actually can take into the real world made the experience pretty sweet.